Okay, you guys want to say hello? Come here. Come here. Want to try this again? Huh? Come on. Oh, you get here. Okay? Come on, Fred. You get here. All right, let's try this again. Come on. You get here. All right. Let's try. All right, so it's a small chair, isn't it? Let's try and say hello. Say hello to everybody out there, huh? Say hello. This is Fred. This is Sophia. Welcome to Talk About Strange. Thank you for joining us here this very, very, very early morning. These guys are here to do my opening with me because you guys have been asking for them, for one. For two, this story happens to be about, you guessed it, man's best friend. So I thought it'd be a great idea to bring these two in and say hello. I tried it earlier, how much earlier you can get, but they were a little bit confused about why am I in here in the office here? What are we doing here? And when I was talking to the camera, they thought I was talking to somebody on the other side of the door. So Fred here went crazy, huh? Didn't you, buddy? You went, who are you talking to, right? So anyway, here they are to help me shoot this video. So let me tell you, here a while back, when I had a bunch of messages and stuff disappear, I told you guys about that. Well, this gentleman, one of his messages were in there. And so fortunately, he heard my call and me talking about that. And so he checked back. You kissing your sister? He checked back with me to see with a follow-up message here. So I'm going to share that with you. And then he resent the message that he had originally sent to me. So I'm going to read that one to you guys as well. So we're going to dive right into the story. I just thought you'd want to say hello to these two and they say hello to you. No, don't lick the microphone. Don't lick the microphone. So I'm going to put them down and we're going to get started. All right. All right. You guys going to get down? Okay. All right. Let me go. Oh, all right. Whew. Now they'll be trying to jump back up. All right. I hope that was fun. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive right into this very interesting story. I'll tell you what, when he sent me this follow-up, I couldn't even sleep hardly last night. So I'm up early, 5:30, something like that, so that I can share this with you guys. And then I get to work on my siding again. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, this is what he sent me as a follow-up. Dear Mr. Strange, this is Joe. I reached out to you quite a while back and reluctantly shared a story involving my dog, Boomerang, myself, and our run-in with what I believe is either a dogman, demon, or maybe even a skinwalker if they exist here. But I'm leaning towards a dogman with all the other encounters I've now heard about. Anyway, you were recently asked on your live stream. You were recently asked on your live stream, I need my coffee still, if you have gotten any of these encounter stories, and you said, not that you were aware of, and to please send some. Well, I thought at first maybe my story didn't fit your criteria, but then I watched a video where you talked about how you lost some of your information and messages. So I figured maybe I was just in that mix, and so I sent this little reminder and even included the story that I had previously sent you. So look, I won't be offended at all if you decide not to share the crazy ramblings of a young old man, and I'll still continue to watch every episode you post whenever I can. Thank you in advance if you do choose to share my story, and thank you for sharing all these other remarkable people's stories. Joe. All right, Joe. I'm thrilled that you sent me a reminder. I'm really, really happy. And I'm so sorry if you felt like I didn't want to read what you had sent me. This is phenomenal and great story. I'm really looking forward to sharing it, and I think everybody's going to love it. So, and I went ahead, I even jumped in. You sent me that picture, but I went ahead and jumped in and created like just one of my AI thumbnail pictures. Just for the front page of it, just in case you didn't want to have yourself shown on the front. there. So you can let me know about that afterwards, what you think. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the actual story. I have been reluctant in sending you my story because I don't want to be thought of as an old crazy guy. But after hearing you read stories from all these other brave people, I thought, well, I'd rather be seen as old and crazy than cowardly. So here goes everything. My name is Joe. I'm 68 years young. I live in the deep woods of the great state of Michigan. Once upon a time, a long time ago, I was a soldier. It's a part of my life I don't talk much about, but for the sake of this story, I will give you the gist of it. After 9/11, my MWD military working dog, I'm going to stop right there and say thank you both for your service. I mean, I really appreciate it. I know everybody here does too. Both of you, all right? My military working dog and I were working our second deployment to Afghanistan. My dog Boomerang and I were clearing a building when a mortar round struck a vehicle on the other side of the street. I took a large piece of shrapnel to the back of my right knee. At the time, I wasn't aware of how bad the damage was, but it ultimately ended my career. Sorry to hear that. Very sorry. Fortunately, I was able to adopt Boomerang, and once I got on my foot, I think you did that on purpose, didn't you? He and I moved out to the country. Not because I hate people, I just don't like being surrounded by them. Plus, for my own reasons, I prefer to hear the sounds of birds, coyotes, and wind blowing through the trees rather than horns, engines, and people hollering back and forth. Boomerang and I took daily walks on the trails we carved through the tall pines past my backyard. Occasionally, we would pack up our gear and spend days out in the forest, exploring nature and all of its beauty. I never carried anything more than my Colt 1911, as there wasn't many serious enough predators in the area that I thought we needed it. Other than occasional black bear and wolves, nothing Boomerang or a couple of rounds in the air wouldn't scare off. Every time we go, we try to find a little different location just to keep it interesting. On this particular day, we found a real beauty, just at the top of a hill with this amazing view. Just imagine the tip of the Huron Mountains with nothing but a sea of pines between you and them. It's really rather spectacular, but I digress. Wow, I bet it is beautiful. It was our first night there. I was sound asleep. Boomerang, on the other hand, was very restless. Generally, we have competing snoring contests, but not that night. Finally, I had enough of his whimpering and crawling about. I asked him what his problem was. I was thinking maybe a bear was wandering around nearby, but he stared at the tent opening with a familiar look that brought back bad memories. So I got up and we went out to investigate. I didn't see or hear anything, so after a while, I decided to heat up some water for coffee. I figured I wasn't going to get any sleep at that point anyway. All I thought the rest of that day, although the rest of that day, he was on edge. All through the rest of that day, he was on edge and ready to set after anything that moved. So I told him to settle down and we would find a different spot tomorrow, just in case maybe we did set up too close to a den or something. Well, that night was even worse. He had me so spooked, even I couldn't sleep. Then right about midnight, we headed to the most... let me start over on that. That night was even worse. He had me so spooked, even I couldn't sleep. And then right about midnight, we headed... I think you meant heard. We heard the most horrible howl I'd ever heard. I said headed. Yeah, we heard the most horrible howl I'd ever heard. It sent chills up my spine. Boomerang was standing point at the door of the tent when it happened. He wasn't afraid of anything, but for the moment, even he laid down and whimpered. Right there, I knew whatever was out there was nothing to be messed with. Boomerang decided he wanted to be tough and go outside, but I held him back with one hand and clutched my Colt in the other hand. We've spent many nights out there, and we've probably heard just about every wild animal call there is in the area. That didn't sound like anything even from this earth. Soon to follow was another shrieking howl and tree branches breaking, then heavy footsteps not far off in the woods. Boomerang was just about out of his mind. I've never seen him act like this. He completely ignored my commands and finally ripped out of my hand. I screamed out, "Lieutenant Boomerang, return now." Lieutenant was a name I used when he pissed me off, because he outranked me in the military and I outranked him as a civilian, or so I like to think. Yeah. But he ignored me and I had no choice but to back him up. So I hobbled out as fast as I could and followed the sounds of him chasing after whatever it was. There was no way I was going to keep up with them, but I tried, all the while calling for him to come back. I had to stop and try to catch my breath for a moment. I wasn't that young, agile man that I used to be. As I was pulling off my hat to wipe off my brow, I heard a branch break to my six. I spun around with my flashlight and shined it straight at the belly of a beast. At first, I wasn't sure exactly what I was looking at, so I shined the light down at its legs and feet. Well, paws, I guess. Then back up at its face. I'm not too proud to admit I was shaken pretty bad as I looked at whatever this thing was. Here I'll do my best to describe it. My best guess is it stood 7.5 to 8.5 foot tall. It was obviously a male, covered in dark brown and black, grossly matted hair, and stank to high heavens. His legs, arms, and torso were nothing but sleek muscles. His feet looked like the back paws of a very large wolf. His arms hung down past his waist, and he had human-like hands, but they were also long, bony, and covered in veins. He had an elongated face that had an eerily human look. His skin looked of dark, dried-out leather hide, and his eyes shined red. His mouth and chest were covered in his own foamy saliva as he was open-mouthed growling at me. I swear he was gazing into my eyes as if he was looking into my soul. I've never felt so small and helpless in my life. It took me a moment to overcome the shock of what I was looking at. A moment that could have cost me my life. Who knows, maybe he had me in some sort of a trance. But then I realized that I had my 1911 in my hand, aimed straight at him. So as soon as he leaned forward, I squeezed one off into his chest. Explain this one to me. I'm talking about a 45 slug less than 10 yards, and this thing continued to lunge up in the air and landed almost right on top of me. I instinctively fell onto my back while unloading every round into his chest and face. I knew it hurt him, but as he turned to escape, he swiped my weapon out of my hand and then disappeared into the dark again. Holy crap. Wowza. Let's see. I looked in the direction it followed. It flew out of my hand and started searching all around the ground for it. Within moments, I heard the crushing sound of sticks and pine needles as he came up behind me. I found my gun, but by the time I could turn back around, he grabbed me by my prosthetic leg and dragged me backwards until it ripped loose from my knee, giving me a chance to roll back onto my back into a so I could defend myself. I'm guessing it stunned him for a moment, just not long enough for me to reload another mag. He tossed my prosthetic to the side and spun around and down on top of me. He was just about to eat my face off when Boomerang laid into him. I was looking into his eyes when it happened and knew Boomerang had to get him good. He let out a shrieking scream of pain, or maybe just from the surprise of it all. But he was still able to reach back and swipe Boomerang off from him. I heard him yelp. But I used that moment to reload my weapon and pressed my gun into his side as hard as I could and then fired it. It jumped off from me and ran off into the dark. I quickly found my prosthetic and tried to reattach it. Boomerang was hurt, but walking around me still in fight mode. Wow. The prosthetic was so messed up, I just started hobbling back to camp looking for a walking stick along the way. We were almost back when Boomerang stopped and started growling. This thing was obviously following us. I hopped as fast as I could. As soon as we got back to camp, I went straight for my knife and a med bag so I could quickly tend to any serious injuries Boomerang may have sustained. But he wasn't there. My heart sunk into my stomach because I knew there was no way I could help him at this point. Still, I called out to him anyway. I said, "Come on, boy, let's go home." And I said, "Home, now." Then I said, "Screw it," and started heading back in to help him until I heard that awful commotion of them fighting way off in the distance. Now, I knew Boomerang could hold his own against any man, but this time he was outmatched, and so wasn't I, even with my .45 apparently. I had no choice but to honor his sacrifice and try to retreat to a safer location where I could then take my time and stand my ground against this thing. I kept waiting for the thing to jump on top of me, but it never happened. So I made my way back home, tripping and falling all along the way. I had to get back so that I could reattach my prosthetic, grab a much bigger weapon, and head back out on my four-wheeler in order to find my best friend. But when I opened my garage door to pull out, guess who was standing there? Boomerang. I couldn't believe my eyes. I'm not too proud to admit I broke down and cried, and then called him a son of a bitch for scaring the crap out of me. He was fairly covered in blood and limping on 3 of 4 legs. I checked him over and he had some pretty bad injuries, but nothing I couldn't fix. So I scooped him up and brought him inside. Later that day, while he was resting, I called my son and had him come over with his wife. I had her watch over Boomerang while we went out to hunt this thing down. Sure that my son would ask me if I was crazy, he just said I'm on my way. I never believed in any of this hocus pocus about Bigfoot or aliens or any of it, but he did and welcomed the chance to say, "I told you so." We rode straight back to that same spot and searched the entire area until we found a set of tracks to follow. Even though the wind was picking up and it looked like a storm was moving in, we had to try to find and finish this thing off. Periodically, we found blood splatter all over the ground where they had apparently confronted each other, but it was way too much blood. But it was way more blood than poor Boomerang could have lost and still be alive. We continued to follow tracks for quite a while. Boomerang had stayed hot on his heels right up until the tracks just stopped, like it vanished into thin air or took flight. All we found were the circles of Boomerang's tracks, where he was searching for it, or where Boomerang was searching for it. Then he turned and left his own blood trail that was leading back home. The next day we returned to take pictures of as much as we could find, but the wind and rain washed it all away. Again, to the best I can describe, they were long, narrow at the back, and the front appeared to only have 2 large toes with long claws and what almost looked like a possible 3rd toe. But it was very hard to tell because the area is very hard and rocky. So those I remember from the occasional softer area and scrapes. I've never seen what they look like, so I have no idea what that could be, but I'm sure there's people that are going to be listening that will know. So, after Boomerang healed up, we started back out on our walks again, but never stayed out far away from home again. My buddy Boomerang died peacefully in his sleep about 2 years later. At the ripe old age of 12, he was a true hero and friend. R.I.P., my boy. I dedicate this story to you. Oh, that's so sweet. So I hope you enjoyed the story of this crazy old man and his dog Boomerang. I'm not asking you or anyone else to believe it. I wouldn't have. But there it is just the same. Steve, I really do appreciate you reading all these stories. I can't tell you how many times it's helped me get through some all too quiet moments. Signing off, Joe. Wow. Wow, man, Joe, what a phenomenal story. True or not, I don't care. What a phenomenal story. I thank you and Boomerang for your service. I swore I wasn't going to tear up, and I didn't. I held it off, but it was not easy. I promise you that, because I am a major dog lover. When you get to the IR part, RIP, I can't even say RIP part, and dedicated it to Boomerang. I mean, that's just so sweet. That's amazing. Geez, I guess, how long ago was that? That must have been quite a while ago, from what I understand here. Anyway, yeah, that's amazing. I know everybody's going to love that story. Thank you so very much. I don't know. You gave me your name, but so you didn't say it was anonymous. I hope that was okay. You didn't say not to give your name, but, or maybe you used a different name. I don't know, but anyway, everybody's going to love it. So, thank you so much for sending that in. And again, I'm sorry if I missed it or if it disappeared, but thank you for following up with me. And anybody else out there, if you sent something and I missed it, don't be afraid to just double check, follow up, and see if, because like I said, a lot of stuff disappeared or it gets lost or it gets put spam mail or something. It just happens every now and then. So that's it for now. I'm going to go get my coffee and try to wake up a little bit. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you again really soon.